Hurricane Ike, which hit Cuba, forcing nearly 1 million people to flee their homes. Do you recall this one? This happened in September, about a month after the Madrid air disaster.
Yeah, this one all right, because this one was, well, it hit the news much more because not so much of Cuba as that it was heading for the southern United States. And the thing that did strike me though was that whereas Haiti and the other areas got very badly hit and there was tons of deaths and things, in Cuba you didn't have the same situation. Even though Cuba got hit full on, the government had organised to evacuate people into safe places. The day before they had handed out bread and cooking oil and everything else. So it seemed like, compared with like Louisiana or whatever the year before, or 2 years before, the Cuba, much poorer country, was better prepared and more in tune with keeping their own people.
Right.
But because you know, this one is important in that it's not just Hurricane Ike. There was 4 of them in 2 weeks. They hit these areas, which was disastrous. And you know, okay, this is natural disaster sort of thing. But Nature magazine only in September produced statistics that there has been more hurricanes and more severe hurricanes in the last 30 years, mainly due to global warming. And of course, you link in also the hedge funds lost fortunes on this because they expected it to hit the American oil fields, but it veered away a little. So they expected petrol to go up, oil to go up massively. Oil didn't go up massively; it actually came down. The hedge funds lost fortunes, and Lehman Brothers in particular had a lot of money invested in the hedge funds, and Lehman Brothers caused more. And so
you think that could have contributed to their demise? But I just wanted to move on to you, Ayo. Do you recall how the papers covered this, and in particular the demise of the people in Haiti, you know?
Yes, it was headline news. And again, because the storm had come through the Caribbean, causing destruction as it went along, there had been this build-up, this momentum leading on to its final, which was heading for Cuba and, of course, Haiti and a few other islands. So devastation in its wake, clearly. But again, hurricanes, the question is, are they man-made or are they a freak of nature? So I think it's a combination of the two. And where we've not been able to answer is who's responsible.
I mean, this is man-made, isn't it?
This is man-made. Somewhat caused by a natural disaster, mind you. There had been heavy rains, and there was an illegal mine, and they had the sludge backed up, and the wall that was protecting the village broke, and a whole lot came down and buried the village.
Yeah, that's
but it was
the
an
image
illegal mine,
and
apparently 4,000 people a year die in mine-related accidents in China.
Right.
So again, largely caused by, well, a lot of illegal mines plus aging infrastructure. You know, so.
To be honest, I can barely remember the coverage of this, even though it only happened in September. Ayo, was it something that particularly caught your attention?
Yes, it did.
Being so far away in China as well.
China, well, it was the fact that really China may become one of the candidates for the next superpower, and on that basis, you wouldn't expect these sort of things to be happening in a nation which is aspiring for those ambitions. But in saying that, there's at least 9,000 such mines in China. So this incident could happen again. And that is the worry. Especially as clearly villages were swamped and the families were killed.
The success of the Beijing Olympics. It's sort of showing two sides of a huge divide, really, within Chinese society.
So much illegal mining going on.
Right.
In a very controlled economy.
Right.
Well, health and safety is a major problem in China, and of course the authorities have got to try and stamp out that, because clearly this sort of incident should not really be happening, and when it does happen, the effects are very, very serious, clearly from what we're seeing.
Absolutely. And let's move on to our final story, which is in Pakistan. The headline that we've got is from The Guardian. At the end of October, search for survivors of Pakistan earthquake continues, and at the time the death toll was around 215, with an estimated 2,000 homes destroyed in southwest Pakistan. Did this particularly grab your attention, Ayo?
Yes, it did. Since purely because of 6.5 of the magnitude in terms of scale of an earthquake, that's quite large. And the fact that 2,000 people their homes were flattened, countless thousands were homeless. It was cold. That's another factor of it. I remember seeing a lot of aid workers trying to get there to assist families with tents and blankets and so on and so forth. But what struck it for me was that there was a specific organization called the Jamaat Ud-Dawa, and they were branded by the United States as a terrorist organization, and for intensive purposes they were there first to help these stranded people. And in fact, back in 2005, when a similar earthquake happened, they were there as well, helping with and assisting families. So and of course they are being branded as terrorists simply because they're supporting the Muslims who are fighting in Kashmir. And it just shows how these things pan out, really.
Well, with natural disasters, obviously it kind of literally upheavals everything physically and also in the political environment, as you've just outlined. The Haiti school collapse, which left at least 50 people dead, and that also happened just about a month, in fact just about a week after the Pakistan earthquake that we were just discussing. And did you pick up on this as a particularly touching issue for you, Ayo?
Yes, I did. I remember vividly, 50 people were considered dead. We had a school that had collapsed. Worried parents desperately trying to get their kids. This was a school which had at least 500 pupils in it, and only 85 were brought out with appalling injuries, and the rest, I'm afraid, were never found. So it's a combination. Of course, there was this issue about the building itself not being structurally sound. And a lot of families who were concerned about this had moved out of the area because the building had had a problem a few years earlier, and so it's a tragic issue altogether.
Exactly.
Really.
Again, you know, the hand of human error again, Noel. You know, it sounds like more related to the poverty of the area than any malintent by anyone, obviously. Yes.
Yeah, probably would be. Although there had been heavy rains, which didn't help. This school had been partially destroyed 8 years ago, and as I was saying, some people local had moved out because they were afraid to fall in their houses, you know.
Yes, yes.
And but you know, it was particularly apparent. I remember seeing as well parents and grandparents, and being a parent and a grandparent myself. You know. Just before that, like 800 people had died in the 4 hurricanes, and this is a small number compared to what went on in the hurricanes.
Sure.
But it does touch your heart that these kids in their school uniforms. The rector of the school got arrested after, I see down on the Times. But,
it almost feels, I don't know, it almost feels somehow unjust, you know, when these events pile on top of each other, because as the article mentions, you know, the people of Haiti are still struggling with the destruction of 4, not 1, but 4 tropical storms and hurricanes.
In 2 weeks, I think,
you know.
But it's especially so when Haiti is a very poor country.
Yes.
And we would wish this wouldn't happen anywhere else in the world. But when you have a country that's poor, when you have a country that's been ravished by hurricanes year after year, and had its agricultural industry literally vaporized, with 70-80% disappearing overnight.
That's
and,
right.
And then to be compounded by this sort of disaster when they themselves do not have the resources nor the expertise to rescue their own people from the ground.
But it was heartening to see the amount of support that was sent out by the US and Ecuador, Brazil, Chile, you know, that coming together in such a positive way in the midst of disaster. So, you know, there's always something positive in any situation, isn't there?
Well, no, really, because
you don't feel so?
Well, there is a positive side, but really, coming at a time when we've got disaster, fair enough, but come at a time when there's peace, when there's tranquility, when people need a bit more food and so on and so forth.
But it's the beginning, though, isn't it? Because people can see the potential. Oh, you helped us in a disaster, then we can actually say, well, could you not help us a little bit more when it's not so disastrous?